Yeah. All right. We like our food.
Yes.
Leave us alone. All right. Okay. We have beautiful sunset on our hands. And guess what? Enjoy this 6:30 p.m. sunset now, because tomorrow it's going to be an hour earlier. This time tomorrow during our show at 6 o'clock, we're going to be in the dark here. Beautiful sky, nice dry conditions. We turn back those clocks an hour. We go back to standard time, end of daylight saving time. That happens overnight, very early tomorrow morning around 2 a.m. Clocks go back an hour. That means tomorrow's sunset 5:43, and we get even earlier for sunset time as we finish off the month and go into December. Don't forget the winter solstice, or the day of the least amount of daylight, would be, I think, December 21st, and that's when we have the shortest amount of daylight. All right, getting back to our current conditions around the region, we have some lower 80s out there, some mid 70s, where we're getting some rain across our inland locations, interior locations. Overall, not a bad afternoon. Here's that rain that I was just talking about. Not really having much of a bark here, but it is a nice little gully washer that we have moving through the area. This is just crossing over US 27 near Sebring, Lake Placid, kind of right in between those two areas. Wauchula, I would be on the lookout for a little bit more rain splashing your way. A lot of this will fall apart, but again, that cluster right there is really the strongest one that we have. Not seeing any lightning with it. Expanding the picture here, that was a big zoom out, but we want to show you the winds. The winds will stay breezy the next few days, and that's because we have a tighter pressure gradient. That high pressure that's been out in the Atlantic, it's still out there. Also, we have some things that are trying to stir up in the tropics, but the winds are helping us out with that. Out to the west there, they have some stronger storms. Those are not on the way to us. Getting back to the tropics here, if you missed it at the beginning of our show, we're waiting for Raphael to form. We had Patty form in the northern Atlantic. It's a subtropical system. So Raphael is the next name on the list, and this has an 80% chance of development anywhere in this red circle. Generally, the models are agreeing that we will get something to form in the Caribbean. We know that. But then from there, models are in a good agreement going from Jamaica to Cuba, and then after that's when there's some uncertainty. And I'll tell you why. We have some steering currents that are out there. First of all, we have another area of high pressure that will scoot on by behind that front that I just showed you. So that will take place in the next few days and set up shop in the Atlantic Basin. But also we have that dip in the jet stream that's occurring as well. And what that can do as that jet stream starts to sink down is that could push the system a little bit closer to our coast. But don't forget, the Gulf temperatures, the sea surface temperatures are starting to cool down below that 80-degree mark, so that it's not going to have much of a chance to remain pretty strong. And also has to encounter some wind shear. So once it goes into the Gulf Basin, it will likely be a weaker system, but I'm thinking that we could at least get a tropical storm, maybe a Cat 1 hurricane. But again, that would generally be around the Caribbean. Once it goes into the Gulf, it's going to meet the fate of that, again, cooler sea surface temperature, especially closer to the coast, and then also that front sinking down, the jet sinking down and encountering some wind shear that could shear it apart and kind of disrupt the structure of the storm. You see the models do split here, the GFS and the Euro. After that goes into the Gulf, so we're a couple days away from that. 70 degrees for tonight, not a bad temperature. For tomorrow, 87. We could have a little bit of patchy fog overnight. It is mild for this time of the year. That extra moisture that we have in our atmosphere, mainly in the form of humidity, could produce a little bit of fog in the overnight hours, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Don't forget to vote. Election Day is Tuesday.